Okay. It was evening and it was morning of fourth day. Now we're going to get on to the fifth day. And God said, let the waters swarm, a swarming of living creatures, and let the fowl fly over the earth across the expanse of the heavens. And God created the great sea monster, sea monsters with a plural. And the Hebrew says, et hatanaim hagadolim. Now, a tanin is normally translated as like an alligator. And it says gedolim, so there was more than one. And every living creature that crawls, which the waters swarm, according to their kind, and every winged bird, according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. Okay, do I discuss the dinosaurs? Wow, do we want to get into the whole thing of evolution and dinosaurs and how old the Earth is? And I mean, isn't that what everybody's arguing about? You know, I think that would take like thousands of hours, right? So once I was speaking with a brother-in-law of mine, and he said, why does the age of the earth even matter to like halacha, like putting on tefillin, keeping Shabbos, keeping kosher, Torah mishpacha, family purity, family rules between husband and wife, and halachot between, man and Hashem, man and God. It has nothing to do with how old the earth is or whether dinosaurs exist or not. Like whether dinosaurs exist or not has zero impact on anything that's actually happening in our world or for the last 4,500 years since the Torah was given. But it is interesting, the Kuzari talks about this. This is a conversation that, Jews have been dealing with this question for a long time. How old is the earth? Philosophers dealt with this question. How old is the universe? Seems like it's always been here. Now, now nobody even says that. Everybody says there was a big bang. And we say, Bereshit, Berei, Elokim, et Hashemayim, v'et haaretz. We say there was a big bang. Judaism says there was a beginning. We have no problem with their saying there's a beginning. And the first day or day one, as we said, is not really the first day. And we saw that there's no chronology. Even Rashi, who's like our main commentator, who lived in the 1100s, way before evolution came around, he even said that the Torah is not given in chronological order. Matter of fact, he said, like, you know what? We shouldn't even read Bereshit. We should start with Shemot. So, there's always sort of been this, like, what do we do about Bereshit? What do we do about, like, the verses over here? They indicate that the earth is ancient, more than 5,000 years old, which is only something that's only been said in the last 200 years, by the way. In the last 300 years, when you had Darwin, et cetera, is like all the Christian theologians, who the Judaism bumped into, and all the Islamic theologians who the Jews bumped into, they all thought that the earth was created by God. Like, and if the Jews bumped into other people in the world, pagans, anybody that the Jews ran into in our travels around the world, different religions that we've met, maybe in China and in Australia and other places that we've been, where the Christianity or Islam hadn't spread, in different locations that we've been. Nobody says that the earth is only a few thousand years old. They all say it's extremely ancient. Jews are the only ones who come up with saying that there was a creation, there was Bereshit, there was Yom Echad, Shtaim, Shlosh, Arba, Shesh. There's 6 days of creation. On the seventh day, God rested, and we have Shabbat. But the first 3 days, the sun and the moon weren't even created, right? So what, like, and a day in the eyes of God is 1,000 years, or something. One day to God is like 1,000 years or a million years. God doesn't have time. God is beyond. God is beyond time. Again, how old is the earth? Okay, so anthropologists, sociologists, historians, and other scientists and other people who are super trained in this subject matter say that earth is quite ancient, maybe 4.5 billion years old. They found microbes, very, very ancient. And the crust of the earth in Antarctica and places like that, they say is very ancient. Even found civilizations, and they found a sort of a humanoid creature in Africa called Lucy, that's bones are 3.5 million years old. So how old are humans, right? So humans are only from Adam, only from one person, Adam Rishon. Like we're going to get into that, like in another few verses or another few sentences, another video about the whole mankind, which we haven't gotten there yet. But now we're just talking about the creation of all the animals. Now the Torah does say that there's individual species, or maybe like you could call them like the big umbrella family groups, right? That there's things that are in the water, There's things that fly in the air, things that crawl on the ground, and according to its kind. So, for example, a bat and a I don't know, a hummingbird can't mate. They can't get together. A hummingbird is a bird, and a bat's a mammal, but it also flies. Let's use a different example. A stork and a hummingbird. They're both birds. They both fly in the air, right? A seagull and a hummingbird. These are both birds. They're all birds, but they can't have babies together. Only a hummingbird can be with other hummingbirds, and a stork can be with other storks, and pelicans can be with other pelicans. That's what maybe the Torah is saying with each of their kind, right? So there's lots of different types of insects, right? But see, an ant, can only reproduce with the same style of ant, etc. You can't really crossbreed. There's very few examples of crossbreeding. You do have the donkey and the horse to make a mule, but then the mule is sterile, can't have babies after that. So we don't really have examples of crossbreeding that works. Now, sometimes a wolf and a dog, apparently are close enough that you could crossbreed them, and that offspring will still be able to have children. So there are some exceptions to it, but the Torah doesn't get into all that and doesn't get into the modifications that man has come along the way. The earth and the species as we see them is kind of actually how the Torah describes it. Now, the Torah doesn't get into evolution, or it gets into the question of evolution, or the question of how many different types, the mass destructions that the anthropologists discuss, and all the paleontologists claim that there was mass extinctions, and maybe there was even a comet that hit Earth, and that's where all the dinosaurs went. The Torah doesn't get into any of that. The Torah does mention great sea monsters, and perhaps these great sea monsters were the dinosaurs, but we still, I don't know, that's a little bit of a stretch, because we have the tanim, we have alligators. Why do we need to say, why do we need to say that tanim also is a dinosaur? Now, of course, I happen to believe that dinosaurs existed, but I have met people who are, in the Jewish world, who don't think that there was dinosaurs. And honestly, as I mentioned, it doesn't have any impact on halacha. Okay, so that's day 4. And as it says, and God saw that it was good. So whatever those things were, and whatever they are, whatever animals still exist in our current time period and have existed for the last 4,500 years, 5,000 years, let's just say, they're good, whatever they are. And God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful, multiply, and fill the waters of the seas, and let the fowl multiply upon the earth." Even though the fowl actually fly in the air, but I guess in order to multiply, where do they procreate? I guess most birds procreate in their nests or on the ground. So maybe that's what it means. And it was evening, and it was morning, a 5th day. End of this video, and we're going to get on to day 6.